At this point in the campaign, the trio of Aros, Vixen, and Hugo were traveling to the country of Audubon to find a weapon that could kill the giant bird before it destroyed Woodwillow. As they traveled, I made Aros' player make a constitution saving throw to see if the monster infection from the first part of this series would get worse. He succeeded, just like he had the last 5 times I made him roll, which is why that hasn't been brought up in these videos. AngryArthurFist.jpg. Anyway, traveling through the countryside as part of a quest is good because it gives you opportunities to have new characters join the party. As the party sat in a tavern, a rogue wearing dark clothes walked up to them. "My name is Devillian Atano. I was a cop in Audubon, but was forced into exile after a cult called Judgment killed my daughter and framed me for murder." "Oh cool, we're going to Audubon. Want to be our guide?" "Why are you going to Audubon?" "We're trying to stop the Empire from destroying the world." "In that case, I will accompany you, because I believe the cult I am hunting is allied with the Empire of Steel." Funny how things work out like that sometimes. The party, now with a replacement rogue, continued traveling until they came across a massive ravine stretching across the land. Thick, glowing fog rose out of the ravine. Ah, the Fighter's Butt Crag. In Audubon, we call it the Great Ravine. That's a better name. Is it really? The party rolled some history checks and learned about the Great War that had happened 50 years prior. Woodwillow had tried to conquer neighboring countries and had taken over a big chunk of Audubon and Valviento, aided by mercenaries from the Iron Kingdom. The war had ended suddenly when the Great Ravine appeared, splitting the battlefield in half. Morias and Pietra, the nations who aided in the fight against Woodwillow and the Iron Kingdom, redrew the borders afterwards, taking big stretches of territory from both Woodwillow and Audubon. Devillian said that his people were still bitter about it years later. Hugo leaned over the bridge and stared at the Great Ravine. He could tell it was magical in nature, perhaps a future course of study after he completed his thesis. The party traveled into Audubon and stopped in a small town to rest. In the town square, they saw 2 things. A preacher, dressed in judgment robes, singing the praises of the Empire of Steel, and reoccurring character magic item salesman Old Man McGucket. The rest of the party went to the shop, but Devillian asked them to excuse him for a moment. He walked over to the crowd as the preacher ranted that the Empire would unite the continent under a single banner, how instead of being betrayed and humiliated, Audubon would be feared. He stepped off the pulpit to go use the bathroom, and Devillian pulled out a knife. Meanwhile, Hugo bought a jar of bees, a magic item you can use to make bees. How wacky. "You guys are great customers, so great I'll give you a little piece of advice. Beware the man whose heart doesn't beat." "Why do people keep saying that? Foreshadowing is a literary technique where I have returned." "Oh, hey, Devillian, that's a cool bloody knife you're holding for some reason. What have you been up to?" "Rogue things." The party continued onward and climbed the tallest mountain on the continent. At its top, they found a large Order of the Zodiac temple. Its ceiling was painted with the same zodiac constellations as the one in Woodwillow. The head priest, who was named Mother Silrag for reasons I genuinely cannot remember, knew what they were there for before they even entered. "You seek to slay the massive bird." "Yes." "You seek a weapon that can match its power." "Yes." "In that case, you have come to the wrong place." "Really? Because if I had enough money to be a betting man, I would bet that you know more than you're letting on." "Of course. This observatory is filled with magic mirrors that we use to see everything that happens across the continent. I know that the Empire found the great bird once buried in Valviento. That is why they conquered it first, so they had a monster to unleash on the rest of the continent. I'm also aware that this is not the only beast the Empire controls. The beasts of Blitzen, the great tiger, was awakened 10 years ago when the Empire formed. There are 6 more hidden across this land. This is likely a key part of their motivations for the war. If they can find all 8 beasts, the keys to control them, and the sacrifices needed to awaken them, the Empire will be unstoppable. That's why we need to stop them ASAP. And how will you stop them? By using a weapon that is every bit as destructive? I guess. And what will happen to the weapon once the beast of Valviento is defeated? Will you return it to its resting place, or will you use it until the war is over? Will you hold on to it after the war ends to ensure another one doesn't begin? I don't have time for your hypotheticals, but I do. This weapon you seek, it has been used before. Weapons of its ilk were used during the Great War. the consequences of which you have already seen. The fighter's butt crag. Thousands killed. A hole tore in the fabric of reality. That is how that war ended. Forgive me, but I am hesitant to allow such a tragedy to happen once more. Do you think that if you do nothing, the Empire of Steel will leave you alone? There will be a day when war is on your doorstep and you will have to fight. Then so be it. There are things worse than death. I don't know how you can stand by, but I can't. This is why I left the Order. Let us prove ourselves. If we can show you that we're good, you can give us the weapon. We promise we'll give it back after the war is over. There is a test we can conduct that will show if there is darkness within your hearts. But be warned, if you fail this test, we will be forced to throw you back out into the cold. Bring it. Silrag brought the party to a dark room and had them kneel down in a circle. She lit incense candles and walked around, tapping them on the back of the head with her palm. Our order has a secret technique which can be used to reach into someone's mind. This technique has many uses, some forbidden, but today I will use it for a simple purpose. You will each see a vision of a situation with no easy choices, and yet you will be forced to make one. During this trial, you will not remember that it is a trial. Let us begin. The party blacked out. Each of them awoke in their own version of the same vision. In the first vision, they saw an angry dragon attacking a village. A bow sat in front of them. All 4 members made the same choice. They picked up the bow and fired at the dragon. It turned towards them and growled. Once again, all 4 of them made the same choice. They fired, distracting the dragon so the villagers could flee. The dragon flew over and incinerated them. It shifted to the next vision. The party found themselves standing in a dungeon in front of a locked cell. A crying woman ran over and explained to them that the cell contained an evil murderer who had killed her entire family. The guards were going to give him a life sentence in prison, but she wanted revenge. She attempted to bribe the party into looking the other way so she could kill the murderer. Hugo, Vixen, and Aros all told her no. The villain told her no, then went into the cell himself and strangled the murderer with his bare hands. Immediately, the villain woke up. You failed. That was the wrong choice. Agree to disagree. The rest of the party moved to the final vision. They were standing on top of a building, holding a bow and flaming arrows, looking out over a town. A cart full of explosives was driving out of control over a bridge towards the town square where it would explode and kill everyone. They could fire the bow at the cart, causing it to explode before it reached the town square, but if they did, the bridge would collapse, killing the people on a boat sailing below. Vixen shouted at the people in the square, trying to get them to leave. They wouldn't, and the cart crashed into the square, killing them. Hugo shot at the cart's wheels, trying to force it to stop. In doing so, he accidentally made it explode. Aros had a different solution. He took a running jump and landed on the bridge in front of the cart. He put his arms up and braced himself. The cart ran him over. The vision ended. The results of the test were interesting. The first was a test of selflessness. All of you were willing to die to protect others. That's good, right? Being willing to sacrifice yourself is common. There are many out there who would do so. The second test, to see if you were merciful, was passed by 3 of you. One of you failed in a way I have never seen before. Heh, I'm unique. I mean, seriously, what type of man insists on carrying out the murder with his own bare hands? What about the last test? That was a test designed to see what you would do in a situation with no good outcomes. Did we win? No. It is a test that is impossible to win. There is no way in that situation to avoid killing. The goal of the test is to root out those who are willing to kill for what they believe is the greater good. Murderers who think they are heroic. Saving lives is important. If I were to give that test to the Empire soldiers you fight, what would they choose? Do you think they would try to kill as many people as possible because they are monstrous? Don't be absurd. They kill because they believe their cause is justified. They would shoot the cart. There is no way to remain moral in such a situation. Bullshit. Excuse me? I could have stopped that cart. I'm strong. The point is that that situation has no easy answer. I could have stopped the cart. Who says there are only 2 options? Failure or slaughter? The real world isn't simple like that. None of us chose to shoot the cart. I would have. We tried to find other solutions, ways for everyone to live. That has to count for something. I don't want to hurt people. I definitely don't want to kill people. I want to find an end to this war peacefully, and even if it doesn't exist, at least the fact that I want to find it means I'm not like the Empire soldiers. Mother Silrag pondered the party's words and also their persuasion checks. She sighed. These are unprecedented times. The Empire endangers the entire continent if they manage to bring about their day of judgment. Meaning, I will allow you to find what you seek. There exists a castle in the valley beneath this mountain. It was buried in an avalanche during the Great War. There, you will find what you seek. But you may not like what you find. The party climbed down the mountain and entered the icy castle. Frozen zombies attacked them, commanded by a king with frozen skin. He held a magic staff carved with runes, which he used to summon vines and bind the party. Ours cut through the vines and chopped the Ice King's head off. Vixen picked up the staff and showed it to Hugo, who cast Identify. The stats for the staff were interesting. The staff grew stronger each time it was used to kill someone, storing their soul and using it to fuel the staff's magic. The party gave it to Vixen, but it felt uneasy in his hand. He didn't understand things completely, but he was beginning to understand what the Empire was planning.